Welcome to another Cup of Joe with my return guest, Lucy Ruiz. Welcome back, Lucy.
Yeah, thank you, Joe.
Thank you for being with us again, sharing your awesome wisdom. So you mentioned the three pillars of something.
Something, yeah. So we at Sentinel Consulting and have three sort of pillars of excellence or operational excellence, as we like to call it. And of those, people is first and foremost. Your staff, you got to invest in your staff. Your processes, you got to know how things work within your organization. It has to be rinse and repeat, not rebuild the wheel every single time. And then your technology. Technology is changing rapidly. So you're going to have to make sure that you have a good tool set. And they are tools. They are not the silver bullet. They are not, tools are just, they're just tools. They're meant to be used and to help you work smarter and not harder. So that I would say is the high level element, because a lot of organizations struggle with that. But investing in staff, Joe, you and I both have seen this countless times with clients. Folks are using systems without a lot of training, without, I learned from Mary and I have her notes and her stickies still sitting here. And Mary learned from, Mark. And was there ever any formal training? Are we putting that in our budgets?
And formal process, right?
Formal process, because
Maybe
that
Mary
leads.
did it her way, and now you're coming in your way, and it's like, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And it's also talking about it internally. What makes sense in your organization? Each organization is the same, but different at the same time, right? So they like to do things, you're a higher education, you're an institution of higher learning, you're a K-12, you're a cause and cure. The way you do things and the way you report is going to be different for each org. We all fundraise, but there's going to be some natural processes. So we've got to lean into that. But processes should be simple, rinse and repeat. You should be able to do it over and over, repeatable, scalable, all of those things. If it's not repeatable, then we've got to ask ourselves, why is this not repeatable?
One of the things in my plan giving work is I always remind people I work with that you're building this program not just for the current administration and staff, but for future staff and administration, right? With the average
100%.
fundraiser leaving in 18 months, just keep in mind that you're building this not just for you guys down the road, 15. Now, with your side of it, with technology, maybe that's not relevant. Or is it? I don't know. Or at least maybe the basic processes are, are the basic processes the same, but technology keeps changing over the years?
I think there's a little bit, I would say more yes to the fact that your technology changes. And yes, sometimes your processes have to change because the technology changes. But it's definitely, I think you hit the nail on the head when you said you have to leave information for those who come after you. I call it the breadcrumb trail. You've got to leave those breadcrumbs, otherwise no one's going to be able to follow. And you're right, that revolving door of fundraisers coming in and out of an organization really make it challenging, right?
Yeah.
Even executive directors are leaving at a faster pace than they used to. It used to be, I would say, 3 to 4 years, and now I find they're changing up a little faster. I don't know if you're seeing that as well, Joe, but I'm definitely seeing that on our end for sure.
On big ones as well, or small to
Maybe
medium?
it's more in the medium to large, maybe not
Mhm.
so much the larger ones like the Salvation. I wouldn't say in the Salvation Armies or YMCAs or that kind of or that type of organization, but I'm definitely seeing it in those middle of the road, maybe, sort of county hospitals, smaller colleges and universities, mid-tier, not Division 1, but smaller colleges and universities, there is a little bit more burnout happening out there.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Is there an average percentage of, can't think of the word, not potential. We have a database. We're only using whatever, 20% of its capability. Is that the right way to say it?
Mhm.
Is there an average percentage of capability, if that's the right word, that a typical organization uses a database?
I think much like, I always like to think of it like Excel. I don't think anyone will truly ever use everything in Excel because there's just such a vast, from just making your list of groceries down to, calculating crazy formulas, right? So I think on average, we should, and then the average user only needs to know how to sum percentages, that kind of stuff. Excuse me. But in a database, I would say you should be using at least 50 to 60% of the capabilities.
Wow.
Yeah.
And what percentage, what do you think the average is?
Oh, I would say the average I would say you're in the 20s or 30s, some even less. Some
Yeah.
of them just use it as a receipting tool. Right? So, and that's part of the challenge, right? It goes back to your question, your earlier question. Technology is changing. It's hard to have someone on staff to make it their job that you have to keep up with your technology, especially in smaller shops, right? You've got people wearing multiple hats because you may be the event planner, you may be the database person, you may also help with, some fundraising, some face-to-face fundraising. So that doesn't leave a lot of time for, hey, let me keep up on the email updates from my CRM or from Constant Contact or my wealth screening or my event planning software. It's like and. So more and more, I think organizations are starting to realize that they've got to rely on teams like you and I, external experts who can say, it is my job to keep up with what's new in your system with the tools out there.
Random question. Any thoughts around whether emails should be either generated or recorded through a database?
That's a toughie. I kind of can see both sides of the fence on that one. So I can see if you're having an email communication with the donor about setting up where you're going for lunch, that doesn't need to be in the database. But if you're having an email communication with regards to how maybe the more intricate details of the gift agreement, so please recognize us as the Johnson family, or please, my spouse is, I'm a perfect example. My legal name is Lucia. No one ever calls me that.
Oh, I like that.
There you go. I know. My grandmother and my mom call me Lucia, but that's about it. No one else calls me that. So I want to be called Lucy. So even on a tax receipt, I think you could get away with calling me Lucy. But if you wanted to be super formal and say, okay, her formal name is this on their tax receipts, I'm going to issue them to Dan and Lucy, or Lucia. But otherwise, we're just going to call her Lucy. So yeah, so sometimes it's a little bit about that. It's just knowing your team.
So of all the clients I've worked with and databases I've been in, I don't think I've ever had it where we're doing the emails through the database. Is that possible? Like RENXT, can you actually?
You can, but often if it's canned into a database, there's some bonuses for doing it that way, because then it automatically records it in the system, right? So if you're an RENXT user and you use the newsletter functionality, hey, now guess what? If you don't have to think about uploading that, these are the people who receive the newsletter, that happens automatically. Great. Because then you can do reporting and other tracking on that. So that's wonderful. But sometimes the functionality may be limited. So that's where organizations have to weigh the pros and cons. If I go to an external system, yes, I'm getting all the bells and whistles. But is that as important as getting the data into the system? or how much time is it going to now take our operations team to get it into our database?
Right.
So you got to think about the pros and the cons on that. And sometimes it's really just easy. Like, is it going to take the operations team folks or person, it's going to be at least another 5 hours of work every time we send out a newsletter, because now we've got to segment it in from our database, cull it, now upload it to our newsletter software, MailChimp, Constant Contact, Hootsuite, whatever you're using. And then I've got to get the information of all the bounce backs, the unsubscribes back into my database. And then I have to record who gets it into the database. For some organizations, if your team can manage that, those additional tasks, 100% do it. But if you're now tacking on 5 to 6 hours of work, it's, now it's, and some people say, oh, it's only an extra hour. Right. But it's an extra hour for this system. It's an extra hour for this other system. It's an extra hour here. Where do we get the real work done?
Right.
And now we have to be experts in other systems. So it's a little bit of give or take. Sometimes it really depends on the skill set available. And that's why keeping your staff trained, really important.
You're super
Process
smart.
documentation, really important.
Yeah. Good stuff. Anything else?
Let's see.
I know you have a lot, but
yeah,
any time
I would
left?
say the next big one I would say is our team is doing a lot with Power BI, which is I like to call it Excel on steroids. So you can do so many things that are much more challenging and time consuming in Excel. And if you've got the know-how to do it, you can do it in Excel, but you can now do it in Power Automate. Power Automate, because it's a Microsoft tool, it can connect to other tools, such as if you're using your accounting software, if you're a higher ed, to your awards management software, you can download all sorts of data sets and bring it in together. Rather than having multiple worksheets that connect as in Excel, we can now have multiple data sets connect in Power BI, and we can make the connections internally. So you no longer have to live with giant spreadsheets. Power BI now turns those spreadsheets into graphs, meaningful graphs. So you and I, who've lived through those, prospect management meetings with the spreadsheet in font 8 that I could read in my 20s, that I now need glasses to read. We no longer need that, because our brains are not meant to digest data in that way. We are meant to digest data in a graph. We can see trends in a line graph or a bar graph or some other type of graph. So that's the big one. So be aware.
And what's BI stand for?
Business intelligence.
Business
so that is Power BI is a Microsoft tool.
Is it similar? Is it related to AI at all? Or?
So because it's part of Microsoft, it's related to it does have a Copilot component to it. So which is the Microsoft's response to ChatGPT. So yeah, you can do a lot of great things. And for our higher eds out there, for our hospital clients, bringing in financial data and your reporting data for endowment reports, it's really, really streamlined the ability to create endowment reports. So
awesome. And you can help folks figure that out? Absolutely.
We'd love to do that.
Awesome. And how do people get in touch with you?
Yeah, people can get in touch with us at sentinelconsulting.ca. So that is SENTINEL consulting.ca. We serve clients all over North America. And they can reach out on LinkedIn, Lucy Ruiz on LinkedIn, happy to connect. Phone 416-706-4880, or by email, lucy@sentinelconsulting.ca. Happy to help.
Lucia, thank you. I love that name. It's beautiful. Lucia, thank you.
Lucia, yes.
Awesome. As always. Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe.
My pleasure.